thoughts? Legitimate question. You're somebody who's covered sports. You've covered a lot of this stuff. Would you consider Mike Norvell to be on the hot seat this season?
I would make an evaluation at the end of every season to say, okay, it starts with a win-loss record, but as we've talked about on here, I'm not all about the win-loss record. Ultimately, I am, but when in evaluating a coach who's supposed to be building a program and lifting it out of what it's been, I think it goes beyond that. And I'm sitting here looking at the schedule from 2021, looking at the game results and thinking, okay, I watched most of those games, and it was a very uneven performance. Which is what you would get out of a 5-7 team. So that Notre Dame game, I watch games on Saturday, and especially for a program like Florida State and a coach like Mike Norvell, where he's not a proven commodity, I'm constantly thinking, does this team look prepared? Is the coaching staff making adjustments? Do they look like they've got a reasonable game plan? Does the team look like they're fired up and inspired and want to hit people? Are they checking all the boxes of what you would expect of a top-rate ACC team? Yes, against Notre Dame. Notre Dame turns out to be an 11-1 football team. Yeah, Florida State played a great game. Then the Jacksonville State game was obviously a debacle and an embarrassment. And then they kind of sleepwalk through the next few games. The Wake Forest game, the thing that stands out about that Wake Forest game, and I think that was our first experience with this offense is built for Jordan Travis, and he runs it the best. And when they get a transition, either they choose to transition to Mackenzie Milton, or because Travis is banged up, they go to Milton, and it doesn't work now. It's not the same skill set. It just is not working. He can't take it over. He can't run around and make plays by himself. And I think that was a huge factor in last season. But I'm not going to go through the entire schedule. But there were games where I thought, okay, this program's making a major stride. And after what we saw against Notre Dame, I was let down the next 4 or 5 weeks because, man, if they don't pull that game out to James Point against Syracuse, 0-5, I was thinking this might be the end of the line for him. They may keep him around for the rest of the season, but, man, if they can't beat Syracuse and they go to 0-5, but they fortunately pulled it out. The Clemson game was the game that I thought, to Logan's point again, Clemson wasn't Clemson, but they're pretty darn good. That's one of the 10 or 15 best teams in the country, even at their lessened offensive state. And Florida State looked like I thought I was watching a legitimate Florida State Clemson game. Like I thought we just went back 5 years, and sure, it wasn't great. They weren't 1-2 or anything like that, but it was a legitimate game where I was like, Florida State physically looks like they belong in this game. And they are playing Clemson to the last minute here. And so I was impressed with that effort. And then for the rest of the season, again, it was a bit uneven. They played well at Boston College, almost let them off the hook, but dominated for the first 3 quarters. And so they need to bring that Notre Dame, Clemson, first 3 quarters against BC. I've probably missed a few spots there. The Miami game, of course. That was impressive considering they hit Miami in the mouth. Miami counter punch with 19 straight points. And then Florida State comes back and closes it out. That's impressive against a good football team, a talented team, not a great team, but a team that's better than its 7-5 record. So they had about 4 performances where I was like, man, they're making major strides.
Along those lines, though, I will say this is kind of playing the other side of the devil's advocate argument. For those people who have said this, we won't mention any names, Logan Robinson, Old Game Day, who have said in the course of last season, look how close we were in those losses. And you look at it, the Notre Dame was a 3-point loss. The Florida game was a 3-point loss. As much as I hate to say it, the Jacksonville State game was a 3-point loss. So you look, each one of those games were 1 possession away from possibly being an 8-win team. On the flip side of that, Miami was a 3-point win. Boston College was a 3-point win. Syracuse was a 3-point win. We're also 3 possessions away from being a 2-10 team. So my argument will come back to, yes, I get the wins and losses factor. I understand that. But were we really all that much better last season as a whole than we were the year before? I'm not going to sit there, and that's my concern heading into this upcoming season. And we can talk a little bit before we go here about what the schedule might look like next season as it comes out on Monday. my concern is at that point is, are we really that much drastically better at this point? I don't think we are a drastically better team. That's why, as much as I hate to say it, the FSU alumni meeting makes me want to vomit when I say this. I would be happy with a 7-win season next year. Hell, I'd be happy to be 6-6 and be bowl eligible at this rate. That's my concern, is that we are not that much better than that 3-6 team, than being the 3-6 mafia that we were in 2020.
I'm still waiting for your shirts, Jason.
Get it for me. I'll rock it.
I can't. If that's the case, which is very, very good points, Jason, then, I don't think he'll be fired, but he'll be we definitely won't see any staff changes because nobody's going to come unless guys leave. But you'll know that fourth year will be a dead man walking. And the reason why, and here's the scary part, is when we look at 2020, the 2020 schedule was a COVID schedule, which wasn't difficult for an ACC thing. Shouldn't have gone 3-6. Ended up having to forfeit a couple games because of COVID, but it wasn't a tough schedule. I don't care what anybody says. Historically, for Florida State's played tougher. Last year's schedule, we thought the run we thought was going to be more difficult ended up not being as tough as it really was. Clemson was the only true tough opponent. Where what I want to see from Mike Norvell is, if I'm going, and what I never saw from Taggart, what we saw from Jimbo, and it worked out for Jimbo, because the funny thing is Jimbo might not have known he was on the hot seat, but Jimbo had those 2 mediocre years before he finally won the ACC, and everybody's like, Bobby could have done this. We could have kept the old man and done mediocre, and then he would have eventually woke up probably like Joe Pop. But I need to see Mike. If you're gonna win your way. If you're gonna get fired your way. I believe this, and I'm not calling him out for it, but this is what happened. We saw a drive make us believe in the Disney movie, because we were trying to be like Clemson. Clemson got that Disney movie that just came out. That's what we were trying to be with Mackenzie Milton. And he's tremendous. I'm glad he's walking. I didn't see him playing the Hula Bowl. Did he play? Or not Hula Bowl, whatever that bowl was. I hope he played well. I don't know what happened. I haven't seen any clips. I haven't seen anything. But one of my goals this year is not to look at any of the tour of duty drills and not to make any comments, especially the Benson kid. Because, boy, Mark, you should have seen those guys get on me when I said that dude is not healthy. You got all that from a 2-second clip? You got all that? And then I had to remind people, yo, I know people know the fullback. I'm not as swift or as athletic looking as I once was. But how I make a living is through training people, in particular, rehabbing knees. So I've seen about 500 people come off of knee injuries, and that wasn't a good look when he was driving and accelerating. And what we saw was, when the game came in, we saw Mackenzie Milton take over a drive and score, even though Corbin scored on that drive, I believe it was a Ward. Anyways, it was a run that Jordan Travis drove us down for half of that. We fell in love. I say we I did, but we fell in love with the story. And then that story translated to Jacksonville State, and you started a quarterback that was a national championship contender that lost to an FCS school. The same FCS school that we found out about Jordan Travis because we almost lost to him the year before. It's crazy. If I'm Mike at this point and I look at my 8-13 record, I'm looking at who in the hell gave me my 8 wins. Oh, it's Jordan Travis. So much so that the guy who doesn't really follow Florida State but is the voice of college football, Mark Rogers, can see this offense runs through 13. Maybe we should just stop not putting 13 out there. Take my chances. I've only won 8 games, and 13 was the quarterback all 8 of them. And what happens is you start building rapport, because there's nothing more difficult, especially when they're 2 different types of quarterbacks. You got a scrambling quarterback that's 6'2", and you got a midget quarterback that can't run. My bad. A little person in KZ, because he's shorter than me. The trajectory of the ball is 2 different things. It's not the NFL where you're paid to catch. You hope that the guys catch because they're on a high level. But when a short quarterback is throwing it, let me see if I got my hand right. The ball goes up like this. When a taller quarterback is throwing it, the ball comes down. It's two different ways you got to look at it. And when you mix it up in the same damn game, do you understand how difficult and how confusing that is when you're trying to already get guys to buy into stuff? So if Jordan Travis is your quarterback, all of those games, you got the running game that's going around it, and teams have to truly break down and game plan for him. They might be better. Now the wild card is how good is Verse? Is Verse Jermaine Johnson good, or is he Cushion, or whatever the dude Cushion, or whatever the guy's name was? Because if he's the Cushion guy, I'm terrified. If he's Jermaine Johnson, decent, like even if he's anything better than Cushion, then we'll be all right. But I think those are the things that people got to realize. Like, it's just it's a make or break thing, and this offseason, and I think this is the first offseason they'll have where it's truly they have more control. You can go to the chow hall, you can go to the weight room. You don't have to. They're not kicking people out because of COVID protocols anymore. Now you have control over everything.
Well, Mark has left us for a little bit, so before we go, real quick, the schedule comes out Monday. ACC will release the schedule at 7 o'clock. We already know Florida State's first two opponents, Duquesne on the 27th of August, and then LSU on Sunday, September 4th. I'll be in New Orleans for that one. Guys, come out and join us in New Orleans for that one. And then we know the last two games are Louisiana and Florida on November 19th and November 26th. So, James, I'm going to start with you. Florida State's first ACC opponent, who is it going to be? Give me your prediction. You called it in 2020 when you said it would be Georgia Tech. Who's it going to be?
Well, I called that because I was cheating.
I probably, but still.
Syracuse.
Syracuse on the road. Okay, so you think we're up on the ACC?
Oh, my bad. No, wait a minute. Yeah, I'll go with Syracuse. I'll go on the road.
Syracuse on the road. Okay, Logan, who you got?
You go you're home and then you go away. I think you go back home. I'm gonna say Georgia Tech.
You like Georgia Tech at home. So Georgia Tech.
We play Georgia Tech again.
We play Georgia Tech at home next year. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I think Georgia Tech at home. For some reason, I feel that one. Which I would rather have them early.
Exactly. I'm gonna go on a weird one here. I'm gonna get a little weird here for a second.
Like getting wild.
Get a little weird and wild. Now remember, since we're playing in week 0, that means we get 2 bye weeks this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think after the LSU game, I think we're going to have a bye week.
True.
Playing this Sunday, and I think we get the bye week. And I think our first ACC game is going to be on September 17th against Wake Forest at home. I think it's going to be Wake Forest, defending Atlantic Division champions. I think they get them out of the way early. I think Wake Forest will step down a little bit this year. So I think the Florida State Wake Forest.
Okay.
Wake Forest quarterback coming back?
Wake Forest coming back, Logan?
I believe
Come
so.
on, you're
I believe so.
Day. You're no game day. You're the number 2 source for Florida State athletics behind Seminoles.com.
Yeah, right.
Come on.
Let's see. I believe so. I don't think this was his last. And I think he's got, Sam should have.
That's tough.
Yeah, he's coming back next season.
Okay.
So that's a little tough. That's a little tough scenes. But Florida State's defense is supposed to be.
That's fine. Does Florida State play Miami in October, like it should traditionally be played in the middle of the season?
I hope so. I didn't like it.
Or was the ACC going to screw us over again like they did and have us in November?
You mean the last few years?
Well, it's.
Remember, Tag got fired after Halloween.
2nd, though. That was the first week of a 5-week November. At least this was not the
Gotcha.
the last time. So.
What
do you think?
I think they're going to try to stay on FSU's good side. They're going to try to make them a little bit more happier these next couple seasons, so then they don't go join the SEC mega conference. So I'm going to say optimistically, it'll be on the regular October time frame. I'm hoping for, because I didn't like this. Everything was
horrible.
I just didn't like the layout of this schedule as much.
James,
I think they're going to go October.
Last year.
What's that?
I think it'll be October.
Okay.
October. Okay. That's what? That's Monday. That's Monday night.
Monday night, 7 o'clock, ACC Network. Make sure you watch it, and then make sure Wednesday at 6 o'clock you're back here with Mark Rogers, voice of college football, Logan Robinson, the voice of Noel Game Day, Jason Parker, the voice of NBC6, James Coleman, one of 3 voices. I don't know which James Coleman's going to show up. If he comes back, James, we want you back.
Shit, I don't know which James is showing up either. Kind of just rumbles in my head.
Okay, well, one
it's
James
part of
shows up
CTE.
there. That's fine. One James shows up.
Oh no! Well,
Don't say
not
that.
AB.
Don't say
You
that.
don't got ABs though.
I don't think anybody. AV is
AB's
certified.
got his own.
So
Like I saw the
uh,
Brian Gumble thing, and the way he
yes.
smiled, I was like, yeah, he might be telling the truth, but he's crazy. That
He's
smile is
100%.
Oh,
crazy.
he's wild.
So before we go,
Scary.
Logan and James, predictions. NFL championship weekend. Who you got? Logan, go.
What is this? San Fran and Rams. I'm going Rams for the second. I think Cam Akers will bounce back, and Jalen will be fine. I love everybody ripping on Jalen and everything, man. It's been locked down this whole season.
Because he gave up the 155-yard bomb.
Yeah,
man,
he
get
had
out of
one
here,
slip up. One slip up. He's a human. It's shocking. He's supposed to be a lockdown on every play, but he's human.
Right, so
And
you like
then
the Rams?
I like the Rams on that one because I don't even know how the 49ers even in this. I couldn't name more than 5 players over there. And then what's the next one? I completely
Chiefs
and Bengals. Psh, yeah, I hate that Kansas City is so good, but I think it's going to be the Chiefs again. I don't think their offensive line for the Bengals isn't going to be able to hold up to take care of Joe Burrow. I think it was a great, awesome story, cool stuff, good for Joe Burrow and everything. That's awesome. Jameis is still a better quarterback than you in college. But anyways, go. I'm not going to say go Chiefs, but Chiefs got it.
James, obviously your Jaguars aren't in it. Who you got?
No.
Whoa.
I know.
Jeez.
I know.
I covered the Jaguars.
You covered
Not a Jaguars fan.
But
But I just want to make that out there. But it's going to be the Rams Chiefs. Very easy. The Bengals are better than what people give them. I couldn't think of T. Higgins' name earlier, but when you guys was it Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, man, that's dirty, man.
Auden Tate's back now too.
Yeah, that's dirty. But the problem is that Miko Hartman, who will be a number 1 anywhere else, Ty Hill is probably going to be. He's going to be a Hall of Famer guy. He's what we want AB to be right now. That's just what he is. And then Kelsey's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer at tight end. And what's great, add Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, who is the perfect running back for their system.
Yeah.
And it's the craziest thing about their offense, which I know a lot of people don't know what this stuff means. I know you hear me talking. My bad. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
Chaos in the Coleman house.
My bad. I don't know who that was, but we got option routes that every one of those wide receivers runs, and those option routes have 3 choices that they can pick. Now, how the hell a defense stops it, let alone how Pat Mahomes knows where they're going, is even crazier with a quarterback that can advance a play or make a play last 6 seconds longer because he's going to run up, down, side, jump over somebody, duck under somebody's. I don't even know how he has the energy. But then the Rams, strictly because Jalen Ramsey's the GOAT. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Everybody gets beat once. Deion Sanders, what people don't know, Deion Sanders got drugged by the Detroit Lions by a white wide receiver. But he's still Deion Sanders. And that dude just had to happen to have a good day, and nobody knows that guy's name.
And it's a really good
Nobody
wide
knows
receiver.
his name. Mike Evans is not a bad wide receiver.
No.
The goal is to win a football game, right? At the end of the day. And they won it. And I want to cover Jalen in the Super Bowl when I go out to LA this year. So it'll be great.
For the sake of NBC's viewership, since Super Bowl 56 is on NBC this year, I'm going to say Rams Chiefs because a Bengals Super Bowl would kill our viewership.
No, Rams Chiefs. That's viewers, and plus you get the Rams inside their stadium too. So